9 a.m. This is the Bay Oaks Recreational Campus Advisory Board meeting, commonly known as BORCAB. It is Tuesday, January 5th, 2021, and Happy New Year to everybody. I call this meeting to order. Would you please all rise for the pledge to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Again, for the benefit of our transcriber, let's go through and give our names. My name is Betty Simpson.
Barbara Hill.
Lee Nelson.
Karen Woodson.
Holly Sweeten.
Sarah Mayer.
Allison Deason.
And do we have any excused absences for anyone?
I have not received anything from Beth or Jana.
Okay.
What
All right.
about Dan?
And is Dan going to be able to join us?
I haven't heard from Dan either.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. At this time, I would entertain a motion for approval of the November 18, 2020 minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Karen, do we have a second? I'll second that. Any discussion? Not all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That passes unanimously, or 5-0. How about the December 1st, 2020 minutes? Can we have a motion for approval of those minutes?
I'll make a motion again to approve December 1st minutes.
Okay, thank you, Karen. Do I have a second? Okay, Barbara? Second. Any discussion? If none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Like sign, okay, 5-0. And at this time, Beth Cherry has joined us, so thank you for being here, Beth. And, we now have 6 of our 7 members present, so thank you. I don't see a big crowd for public comment, so that's gonna let us move right into item 5. Friends of the Bay Oaks update, Denise.
Denise was unable to make it at the meeting. However, their status is inactive at this time. So the Friends of Bay Oaks, they don't have any members. She will be present at the January,
Not sure.
well, there will be an update at the January 11th meeting. At that time, the Friends of Bay Oaks will put forward $18,000 that has been fundraised over the years from the Friends of Bay Oaks to be earmarked for the youth program. So that can be used for, multiple different things, scholarships, supplies, furniture for the redevelopment when that comes about, and things like that. So there will be an additional update for the board and residents on the January 11th council meeting at 10 a.m.
Okay. Thank you. And that's gonna be $18,000?
Yes,
And that's from the Friends.
correct. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So I have
Thank
a
you.
question. So we have no members of Friends of Bay Oaks?
Correct.
No board members. Denise is the only one who's active, and she's the president, and the bylaws have, I think, when was the last time Denise submitted those to, she did an update, it was within a year ago. So she didn't do an annual meeting, she didn't file anything, so unfortunately it's inactive, can be activated pretty easily, but people would need to come forward to serve on the board.
So what is the process to do?
I would say to reach out directly to Denise about anything, because she really helped set that up. So she would be able to tell you exactly, and I did actually request a little sheet from her before the meeting in case she couldn't be there on what would be able to have to happen. She just didn't get that to me, so I'm sure she would be glad to let you know, in case somebody does want to head that up, that would be a great organization.
Can I just say, with us going into what we're going into here, and if we can't do our own fundraising, we really need that Friends group
We certainly do.
to be activated again and get people involved and, can I get Denise's number?
Yes, then you.
I mean, I'm happy to give her a call.
Karen, I'll send you an email and let you all connect that way.
Okay.
And see if, and I'll send it to, I'll have Sarah send it to Denise and copy you and let her know you're interested in that.
Okay.
And if you talk to her, Karen, you can let her know, I'll put something out on the, I'm on the Fort Myers Beach Elementary page too,
Okay.
so I can put something out on that too to them, that we need members.
Well, I just wonder, I mean, part of me is like, if she's the president, I mean, is there no interest in that? Is there no interest with her as president to do that and make it a bigger group? Or, I mean, I guess I'll find out when I,
Both of her kids are out now, are older now,
yeah.
so it may not be that she's not interested, but maybe it's just she's doing different things.
Okay, okay.
And I don't believe that the Friends of the Art, the Bay Oaks was ever a mission to actually support the expansion of the Bay Oaks, if I'm not mistaken. I think they had various projects, am I right, where they would fund, like say, for example, youth program or something that was really more established that needed funding for that was immediate. But I don't think their vision or their mission really had to do with supporting an overall expansion of the Manhattan, the Bay Oaks. So I think maybe to your point, Karen, it definitely needs to be revisited. And I'm happy to serve as a member of Friends of Bay Oaks. I've never been asked to join. I don't know what the dues are.
Are you allowed to?
I've never seen the,
I don't know
the membership application, for example. So if I, as one person, feel that way, I'm sure that most of the people in the community
And Beth, not to interrupt Barbara, you asked if you can, we do have several members of the Friends of Mount House that also serve on CELCAB, so.
Okay, yeah, because Denise had asked me more than
Yes.
once to join.
As far as I know, there's not been any conflict. Betty, you also serve on the Friends of Mount House, and
Yes.
you, as a board member, and you're also on CELCAB, so I think
That's
we're
correct.
okay there.
Well, Becky as well, Becky Warner.
That is right, we have a lot of members who,
And that certainly has not been a conflict.
And actually, when you're looking at what the Friends of the Mount House did, yes, their vision was to complete the Mount House, but it really never got off the ground until there was a change of leadership that really brought greater enthusiasm and as a result, greater funding and support. And so as a result, now the Friends of the Mount House over the last 5 years has been extraordinarily dynamic and very successful in fundraising efforts. And I see Friends of the Bay Oaks doing exactly the same. It just needs to have a reason to exist.
Exactly.
Right.
Regeneration.
Right, exactly. So I'm happy to jump in as a member and help that effort.
Yeah, maybe, I mean, I have to reach out with an email, but maybe we could meet either together and just get a feel for direction and.
She just seemed so discouraged, I think is the line, is the word I recall, when she made her presentation a couple of years ago. Do you remember that?
Yes, yes.
And at that time, 2 years ago, well, there's really not been a meeting, we're not being very active, and so I think she's kind of frustrated, but then there hasn't been any reason for them to really become engaged, so, and I'm not really quite sure what the dynamics are of that organization, but definitely it needs to be re-upped.
I think so.
Well, I know when we used to meet over at Bay Oaks, which is several years ago, we would talk about their meeting in that other room. And at that time, it was kind of difficult because I did go to a couple of her meetings, and I think they were in the evening, or maybe late afternoon. I'm not sure just when they were, but it just didn't seem to get off the ground, which I think some of us were very surprised, having worked on the Friends of Mount House. So anyway, I think any of us would be very happy to work with her in any way that we can.
Yeah.
So it would be great if she could come and visit with us a little bit and give us some of her ideas too. So, okay, well, thank you for that report.
also mentioned during our last month's meeting. As you see, there is a request for board to take action to come to a consensus of whether they would prefer a standalone amphitheater or combined.
Combined meaning the one with the ball field, is that when you want it combined?
Yes.
Okay.
I guess my question with regard to this specific agenda item is that, as I recall from our last meeting, it wasn't, yes, of course, the amphitheater was a specific request for reevaluation, but I do believe it was the entire modified concept that we felt wasn't appropriate, that the conversation that requires maybe some board action is the difference between the modified plan and the conceptual drawing, and actually to that point, when I made that motion in December for the conceptual drawing, I was wrong in saying December 19th. The conceptual plan that I should have been referring to was the one that was, the latest one actually, is June of 2020. So it is that plan. Fortunately, Sarah put that plan in for our conversation with council January 11th. But I think for the purpose of this meeting, it's, yes, the amphitheater, but it's all of those things that we discussed earlier with the separation of the community center with the athletic center, and having them not necessarily a kids and adults separation, but an active and passive situation, which is not the case for this modified plan. So, am I wrong in, I mean, is today's discussion only about the amphitheater?
If you see also attached, we gave out this large sheet in addition to
Yes.
5 recommendations that I spoke with Betty about over the last week. And these are items that we need to go through today to bring to the January 11th council meeting, since we are limited on time. We're allocated 1 hour for that meeting. So with this agenda item, this could be added to those recommendations that we'll give to the council to kind of give them some insight from where the board stands going into the meeting on the 11th.
Okay, so you're talking about the 5 items that are the recommendation for the development
Correct.
for the January 5th.
It's right there.
Yes.
Okay.
Fitness trail and the outdoor amphitheater and the bay, Beach Bay Road and the 2 ball fields and the low impact, high impact areas. So that is just a part of.
Those are the items that we reviewed yesterday and over the weekend, that I found and Betty did as well, that were a consensus from the board over all the recommendations, and we could add this agenda item for the amphitheater to that list to be
Okay,
given to
great.
council.
Thank you for that. Yes.
And that was very helpful to get this list again, and I did have it.
I know we had some trouble with the
Yes.
email, so thank you for working with me.
We have multiple lists now, but to be able to give this, will this also go to the council?
The list of 5?
Right.
And
And
then
then-
theater.
with
Yes, this list is,
recommendations?
we'll vet through this today in the time that we have allotted, and we'll give this to council so they know where the board stands going into their meeting on the 11th, since we are only allocated that 1 hour.
1 hour is all the time we have?
Correct, for the meeting on January 11th.
We decided 1 hour.
The mayor did,
Yeah,
yeah. The mayor set the agenda and set the time allowance.
but at least it opens the door so that if we need more discussion, we can get there.
So depending on the action taken for agenda item B, I will update this list of 5 if there's any other or any other recommendations that we want added to be given to council. We can go ahead and do that now if you'd like.
Can you explain to me what disc golf is? I've never heard that term before.
It's very popular. It's like frisbee golf. It's a small disc and it's similar to actual golf, but you throw rather than chip.
Hey,
And if you park
Yeah,
in
it's
a
a cool
handicap
thing.
area, you wanna watch out for it.
I've seen lots and lots of people over there using it for that.
Yes.
Yeah, through the years.
Yes.
well, I think that's wonderful.
It's become very popular since it's an activity that people can do outdoors and still in a group, but be able to be socialized as well.
Just,
Just
oh,
for
there are actual rules to that and time.
I think there's a
all of that.
tee,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
a basket, it's like golf, but with a basket and a
Yeah,
frisbee.
there's baskets all throughout,
I have
Right,
Well,
they're hanging out.
Talk about clueless, I had no idea. And I don't think in terms of our conversation, that term disc golf ever actually came up.
Yeah, disc golf, right,
But that's very cool, I'm loving it.
yeah.
So, question, so number 2 on this list of 5 is outdoor amphitheater, but then we also have the item for today,
Correct.
standalone amphitheater combined, so
Because
that's what that,
Yes, there's been some back and forth on that, so these 5 items are items that Betty and I went through this list and compiled, and I know the amphitheater was brought up multiple times, so I wanted to make sure it was on this list, and then the action that the board takes today, we can either update this or add a 6th item depending on the direction the board takes.
And I think our original idea with the outdoor amphitheater, the band shell type, and some of the pictures that had been brought in. I think Barbara had a couple of them with her the other day when we were at something, and it was interesting to see what is available. And I think the one that most of us went down to take a look at, all individually of course, was at Bonita off of Old 41. And to see what they have and the facility that they have for people to be able to come and bring their
This one
chairs.
is the one you were talking
Yes,
about,
yes.
right? Yes.
Perfect, thank you, Barbara.
And actually, there's 2 different ones, and these were the ones that I think we were looking at when we were talking originally about the concept plan.
Right,
And again, it was obviously not just the building itself, but it was the lighting, and do we have that in the 5 recommendations? So here, they've got to be constructed by professionals to ensure proper acoustics, adequate shade, and coverage from the rain.
right.
But it does not talk about lighting, it does talk about an extensive sound system. So that obviously, it would be great to be able to obviously have the outdoor amphitheater. My recommendation is to have it separate, but also to ensure that whatever we do host there would have the appropriate sound and lighting systems.
Exactly.
agree.
Well, and our original plan for it, and I guess we always keep going back to that because we have to have a reference, was right there at the ball fields, feeling that that would give us the adequate area for people to be able to use it. And to be able to cater to the largest number of people that we could have. Whereas then when we got the other information, it doesn't look like, with the backing up to the building, it was just a different one than what we had originally thought about, but.
Well, and actually, to your point, Betty, and this is page number 10 of 21, which is the packet that we're going to be referring to in the January 11th meeting. This shows the latest conceptual plan that looked at where that separate amphitheater would be in relation to the ball field and separate from those buildings. And so that was the plan that we last approved as far as the DRMP conceptual drawing was concerned.
Exactly.
And I do think that since our last meeting, DRMP has come up with sort of a modification. Am I right? And what I see here is, I thought maybe I saw something where they, not just okay, what does this say? The contemporary plan alternative from 7/13/20. So that was a preliminary, and that changed it yet again after June 20th, because this was dated 7/13. Where the ball fields was more consolidated, and that's on page 11
Right.
of
Right.
21. Right?
So, yeah, that was July. So I guess, kind of feed off your point is to continue with the recommendations. First, we need to decide if we want it separated or combined with the ball fields. And then we can update, item 2 on this, the list of 5 or 6 that'll be given to the council on the 11th.
Question,
Yes.
if you do separate, then does that take what's there now on the building away? Because right now, on the building, it looks like there's that quasi little amphitheater area looking out towards the ball field. Does that then go away, because it's like, it doesn't make sense because it's part of the building?
Yes, these,
Yeah.
yes, so, please correct me if I'm, my understanding is that these recommendations will be given to the council and possibly DRMP for the recommendations from the board. And I know there's still a lot of discussion regarding the amphitheater. Primarily, we need to determine if we want it combined or
Let
separated.
me add something to it. So DMRP, because the amphitheater is so important for you all to know whether it's gonna be separate or not, is gonna require a total reconfiguration of where the buildings go. So that's why they kind of wanna know and have you discuss that and now come to consensus, because that is gonna require quite a bit of work to make the amphitheater separate on the concept that you see now. So that's why they really wanted you to say, do you wanna stand alone or not? And yes, there's many additions for the ball field that had been added to try to combine the amphitheater with that, so they could have performances, so people could, be out on the grass and things like that. So, it would still, the bleachers and things may be there, but the building would have to be moved, so I can't answer for sure how much of those would still be in there.
What's happening to the existing Bay Oaks building, the rec center?
It is staying for now. So in the phase plans, it was stated by, I think, the town manager several times, that it is gonna be, the gym will stay for now. The first phase would be whatever the budgetary, which at all times that can change as well.
But if we're on a fixed, limited budget, then we have to figure out what works to where we can accomplish as much as we can that we wanna do.
Well, that was what the 30% design was, and BORCAB did not agree with anything that was in there. So I think you missed the last meeting.
Yeah,
You left the last meeting? Yeah, so.
no, I missed it,
Yeah, so that was where BORCAB didn't like any of the concept designs and wanted to go back to the original to discuss some of the things that they did like about that first design. And in your packet for the 11th, in there is some of those sketches, so Barbara or Betty or somebody want to point out those to Beth. so she
which
can get up to speed.
which one are we working towards now?
That's
Which
something
page?
BORCAB needs to decide. So that's
think
why we,
the
that's why we
question-
wanted to go ahead and give you all that, because you wanted to refer back to the beginning.
And this is so helpful, thank you both for putting all of this together.
Yes.
Because we
It was
really
the
can
clerk's
now talk
office.
about, in
Jason,
June, and
thank you,
July,
Jason.
what the iterations of the
Yeah.
conceptual drawing actually
Because
were.
there's had so
Which is
many.
obviously far more
Right.
advanced than what we were looking at
So-
in December 19.
Right, so Beth, you'll see in there some of the early,
Mhm.
so you'll see in there some of the early designs for the concepts that BORCAB really got excited about, but the budget ended up being a lot more, so we wanted to give, everything to the council and the BORCAB to be able to see what they liked and what they didn't, and since there's only an hour for the meeting, we thought it'd be really great for you all at this
Pinpoint.
meeting to kind of pinpoint the highlights so they know what direction you're looking to go in.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but if we're looking at a 15-minute conversation, what we're looking at really is the difference between the plan that was July 13th, presented to BORCAB, and that's page 11, to what the DRMP presented to council in October, which is the AP 202 and all the other subsequent 102 from page 15 forward, which is the consolidated plan. And I think our conversation had more to do with, we wanted not only the separate amphitheater, but also we wanted to look at, we understood the limitations of budget, but we wanted to go back to the July 13th, 2020 BORCAB meeting where this particular concept drawing was presented and have it in phases so that we could do what we can with this 5.5 million now and then look to get increased funding and increased support for subsequent years for the rest of building out this July 13th, 2020 plan, as opposed to the consolidated plan that was presented to council in October, which obviously was based on budget, and I certainly understand that, but I think the conversation today can be had as to what exactly we can think about putting in for the future, like say the Welcome Center. Is that necessary right now, right here, right now? No, I don't believe it is. I think that's something that we can look to put in subsequent years. And some of the other elements, you know, grass field rather than the artificial turf, which I think would save tremendous amounts of money. And phasing in the gym at a time where we can build that athletic center, I believe is also up for conversation. But rather than do something immediately which will never allow for the kind of plan that this conceptual drawing provides us, because we can't see it in phases. In other words, this is what we can do today, but we want to keep the plan the same, and this is what we can add in subsequent phases. So that, to me, is what the question is today.
So kind of the step 1, 2, 3 from there.
Well, I got the feeling that, once again, we're putting the cart before the horse. I want to say that I think the committee is becoming trapped in this idea that we have only 5.5 million. And I think we need to get out of that trap. We know, for example, or have been told, that as much as 1.5 million is being chopped from Times Square. Well, where is that 1.5 million going to go? Will it come to us? There's 7 million. We've been told that maybe as much as 500,000 or more may be chopped from Bayside. Where's that money going to go? Will it come to us? There's 7.5 to 8 million. We didn't want to settle for this community building that Roger came up with, because it was locked into 5.5 million. Well, how about 7.5 to 8 million? What can we get for that? Can we get the building we wanted in the first place for that amount? So I think we need to know, and perhaps they'll be able to answer it. Roger will be able to answer that by our joint meeting. Is that money being chopped from those other 2 projects? And if so, will you give it to us? Will you give it to Theo? I think we need to know that before we get in this trap of just accepting this building that's, in my opinion, too small. It's a Yugo, and we should have at least a Chevrolet. And I think we need to know the answers to that. Because frankly, from what I understand, again, what we've been told, we may be looking at 7.5 to 8 million for Bay Oaks. Right off the bat, right up front.
Mm-hmm.
So, don't you think that it's a priority to know how much money we're going to get, and stop fencing ourselves in on this 5.5 million number? I do.
It'd make a big difference.
Oh, sure it would. I mean, he came in here and told us that. Up to 1.5 million that they cannot spend on Times Square because the bank won't let them. And maybe as much as 500,000 on Bayside. Allison, do you know yet if this is actually going to happen, and if so, where the money will go?
I don't. That would be a good question to ask the council
Well-
at your meeting.
Well,
So
I don't
maybe
know
that
what the
becomes
council
number
knows.
one.
I don't know what the council knows, but at this point, I would expect Roger to know. I mean, we're in January. So I think that is a priority question before we worry about, some of the other things. I'm all for moving, having a standalone band shelter. I think this, what's been proposed here by the staff is just not adequate. I'm looking at these pretty drawings, and I see the band shelter right behind home plate. I don't see a backstop. Home plates need backstops. So if a backstop is there, which it isn't in the drawing, you're going to look through a chicken wire or whatever backstop to see the band. I mean, it doesn't make sense what they've done. So I'm all in favor of the standalone amphitheater, but how much money are we giving? I'm not like, you know, I'm not settled on this $5.5 million. We shouldn't be planning or preparing to argue the building until we know if we're gonna have $2 million more or more, $2 million more dollars in our pocket. I think you can do an awful lot with $2 million. I think you could probably get the building you want for $7.5 to $8 million. And I'll tell you right now, that's my, after sensing the mood of this council, although I think we still have three of them perhaps leaning toward us, we certainly have the mayor. I loved his comment when they started talking about money. He said, "We've got the money, we don't have to have car washes." I love that quote. And he's right. But be that as it may with the money, how much money are we talking about?
And is there a time limit in which we have to make this determination?
Well, that's
Does
another
the
question.
loan have a time frame in which we have to determine this? I mean, are we running out of time?
I don't know that there's a time that we have to determine, but there's a time for the loan and payback and that type of thing, and I think
Yes.
We're
there's,
cutting into it,
Right.
right?
there's a
36 months.
process of when you have to have certain things
Completed.
completed,
36
decided, completed, that kind of thing.
36 months.
Is that what it is, 36 months?
36.
On this July 13th drawing that you guys referenced at page 11, where's the building?
They're off to the side there, that's what we originally approved. You see those three buildings? 1, 2, 3? If you look at the December 19th one, it really is more clarified in terms of building 1, 2, 3, and what would be housed specifically in those buildings.
It's on page 10.
On page 10.
Okay,
So if you look at page 10,
one page up.
you look at the three buildings. First, down here at the very bottom was the Welcome Center.
Got it.
Right.
And I think we all agree that, yes, that was lovely, but, you know, in the interest of getting what we need first, we
Don't
would
need
maybe
that.
think about, you know,
Right.
compromising on that.
Mhm.
Then this building, which was called the Park Facilities Building, which we call the Community Center,
Mhm.
was to be that separate building, which is where all of the meetings and the passive recreation activities would occur.
Everything.
And then you walk over, and then you have the amphitheater, and you have the ball fields, and that particular conceptual drawing is what BORCAB had voted to approve as our plan going forward, which we then presented to council.
And
The building
phased.
number 3 was the athletic center, and it's not just a question of kids and grown-ups, which I think is a misconception. It was actually the active facility for both kids and adults.
Mhm.
You know, that's where you work out with weights, that's where you do your Zumba class, that's where you know, do your pickleball court activities. And that was to be the athletic center. So what has been done is that it's been combined with the modified plan that was presented in October. My understanding before the October meeting was that DRMP was given the original concept plan to say, we want a 30% design based on this June 18th, or if you want to do the July 1, fine, to say this is what we want. But we recognize that when they looked at that, they said, okay, this is going to cost you between $15 and $17 million. So then the conversation ended right there based on budget. What I don't understand is why they didn't come up with that 30% plan of the entire concept to say, this is how much we can do for, whether it's 5.5 or 7 million. Let's have that as the conversation before June 11th, not either or. So when they didn't do the 30% design of this June 18th, 2020 plan, or the July, I guess, which was subsequent, which is on page 11, that was to me where it was a huge disconnect. Because they then said, well, we're not gonna do phases. Well, why are we not gonna do phases?
Right, and who made that decision?
Well, I don't think that decision was made. It was Councilwoman Hossfrost, and she's dead wrong. And let's not forget, councils commit future councils all the time. You got a stormwater drainage project out there that was decided 2 councils ago, and this council has to oversee it. They committed to it. So she's dead wrong. But they've got 3 more years in office. You know, if you've got the will, you can do a lot in 3 years down there at Bay Oaks. So it may not necessarily be a matter of passing off a commitment to a future council, when this council, with some will, could have done within the time they have. So, you know, and if that comes up again, I'm strongly going to protest that, this idea this idea that you can't phase. It's not true. So, I don't think that should be off the table. And I think that we need to do, if need be, I think that I hope that this committee will defend that. Will continue to advocate for that. Because our plan is a good one. Our plan gives this community something more than they've ever had down there at Bay Oaks, something really of value. And I think we should defend that to the end.
Well, I think we have defended it to the extent that we have these recommendations